Hello, friends. Today's chapter of the day is Habakkuk, chapter 3. And Habakkuk, obviously a very short book, and a book kind of different than some of the prophets, because instead of a prophet yelling at the people or speaking to the people on behalf of God, Habakkuk is a little more like Psalms, where it's the prophet and God having a dialogue for the first two chapters. And then in chapter 3, we see the prophet's kind of prayerful, praiseful response to that dialogue. And the dialogue of Habakkuk is essentially, in chapters 1 and 2, why are you letting things get so bad, God? Why won't you send revival? What's going on here? Things are getting worse and worse. The leaders are corrupt. The people are falling away. And God responding with, no problem. I'm going to send in the Babylonians to wipe you out. So that'll take care of it. So my wrath is not going to be gone forever. And then Habakkuk responding to that with, Babylonians, they're worse than we are. How's that going to be better? And God reassuring Habakkuk that, no, in the end, it's all going to work out, but I'm using Babylon as an instrument of my wrath. So chapter 3 is Habakkuk praising God, reflecting on all this truth, on what God has told him, and what's happened historically to the people of Israel, and ending in this beautiful place of praise and worship and dependence and trust on God. So Habakkuk chapter 3 starts with a really profound verse in verse 2. O Lord, I have heard the report of you, and your work, O Lord, do I fear. Talk about being in right standing before God. He knows of God and he fears God because he's seen all the things that God has done in the past. And immediately he cries out to God in the midst of the years, revive it. What's Habakkuk admitting? Revival comes from God. Revival doesn't come when we have a good party and it seems like our emotions are really high. That's not a revival. A revival is from God, and we know it's a revival because things really change. It's not a one-time experience, but it's something that changes how people think. It changes people's hearts in a way that's revealed in their fruits. So Habakkuk's crying out for that revival. And then at the end of the verse, in wrath, remember mercy. So he's not saying we don't deserve to be punished. He's not even saying don't punish us, but he's saying when you're punishing us, or in the midst of that punishment, please have mercy on us. Don't give us everything we've deserved, because we'd be crushed, and that would be horrible. And then it goes into this comparison, and really what it's doing is it's comparing the deliverance of the children of Egypt, the children of Israel from Egypt, to the deliverance that's going to happen here. And it's talking about God in verse 6 standing and measuring the earth. And in verse 13, you went out for the salvation of your people, for the salvation of your anointed. You went out. God showed up to save his people, and mostly to save his anointed. And who's that? Jesus. Remember, all these times when Israel gets saved, God is saving the family line of Jesus, which has been promised since Abraham, since Eve, to deliver the anointed, to deliver the Messiah. So that's what God's really after. And then at the end of verse 16, Habakkuk says, yet I will quietly wait for the day of trouble to come upon the people who invade us. So this is pre-invasion. This is the end of the kingdom of Judah. And Habakkuk's saying, I know you're going to send invaders. I know we're going to get carried off. But I'm going to quietly wait. And obviously that deliverance, that return to Israel happened way after Habakkuk. Centuries after Habakkuk that they finally got back into Israel. And Habakkuk was willing to trust in the Lord. And then Habakkuk finishes with this beautiful poem in verses 17 through 19. And I'm going to read it to you. And I ask you to just think about what you need to do to get in this frame of mind. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food. The flock be cut off from the fold, there be no herd in the stalls. So everything goes off the rails. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on my high places. In other words, if all else fails, nothing's really failed at all because we have God. And God is our strength. And like Paul says later on, in my weakness, then I am strong. Because when everything else fails, we turn to the Lord and we see how much He has for us. And He has more for us than anything on this world could offer. So my prayer for all of you is you can stand with the prophet Habakkuk and love the Lord and praise Him. And even in the midst of His wrath, praise Him, knowing that He is enough. And I don't mean just enough, but I mean He is sufficient to give us everything our souls truly need. I hope you've been blessed by this book, and I can't wait to keep reading with you. God bless.